So this is Moonlight Library. No. I'm drinking a Pinot Grigio tonight. Beautiful. So this is my second time filming this video. The first time it cut off halfway through and I didn't realize it. But here I am again. I've been drinking wine this whole time. So I hope I'm not... Yeah. I'm just me. Back again to talk about some books. Moonlight Library. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the books that I read in August. I read 13 books. I'm not going to talk about 2 of them, so I'm only going to talk about 11. You could see the other 2 if you looked at my Goodreads, but it's up to you. If you want spoilers, you want spoilers. Really up to you. Whatever. We're going to talk about a couple books. Little overview. August overview. August was my birthday. It was very hot out. It's still hot out. So the first book that I read was an audiobook. That was The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I expected a lot more from this book. I kind of went into it thinking I would love it. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. It was narrated by Maggie Gyllenhaal, which was amazing because it was right around the time after, I think, that she filmed Secretary. I love that movie. I was really feeling Maggie Gyllenhaal as Esther Greenwood. The book has a lot to do with like depression and coming of age, figuring yourself out. So you follow Esther Greenwood. It all starts with her at this internship for a magazine. This is back in the 50s, I guess. So she's this young woman in college, takes an internship. It goes back into her college as well, talking about relationships and such like that. Esther Greenwood, kind of autobiographical pictation? No. What is that word? Kind of autobiographically a character, Sylvia Plath. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yes. She struggles with depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies. I mean, it was good. It was beautifully written. It was lyrical. It was poetic in senses, Sylvia Plath being a poet. But at the same time, I think for me, it was hyped up, or maybe I was reading it the wrong period of my life, or maybe it was the audiobook, but Maggie Gyllenhaal did it. It sounded so nice. So it couldn't have been that. I do not think it was that. I give it a 3 out of 5. 3 meaning it was good, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. Second book I read was a tome, a big old tome, and it is not to be taken lightly. It is not to be read without thinking about it. Like, as much as I loved it, I don't recommend it. That's A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. And this book was so tragic. I like to say that Hanya Yanagihara breaks you down and never rebuilds you. It's about Jude and 3 of his friends, like mainly about Jude, but it all starts with Jude, his friends Malcolm, JB, and Willem. Not in orders of importance in the story. In their 20s, it goes up until probably 50s or so. And it is the saddest book I've ever read. Trigger warnings, people like to say, everything. I've watched a couple reading vlogs on it. Paperback Dreams does a good one. Noelle Gallagher's reading vlog is probably one of the best for the experience of reading this book and what it means to think about looking at this book as wanting to be part of the sadness, where you hear on BookTube and such that this is the saddest book ever, it's so sad, blah blah blah, you should read it, it's amazing. It's true, it's amazing. I fucking love this book, but everything is wrong with this. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong in this book. Everything. It is so tragic. Has happy moments, yes. It has those moments where you cry out of happiness, but most of the moments you're crying, which is hauntingly always. It's tragic. I thought about this book constantly while I was reading it. Like, outside of reading it, I'd be at work and I'm just thinking about reading this book and thinking about Jude and thinking about everything he went through, the tragedies, the sadness, the just abuse, like anything you could imagine horribly is this book. It's a 5 out of 5. It's really friggin' long. Don't recommend it unless you look into what you're reading. This is the sort of book, look into it. Next up, Weather by Jenny Offill. And gotta say, this book was awful. That was really mean. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I didn't really like it. I read it for my book club and it was very fragmented. I mean, it wasn't very fragmented. It literally was fragmented. I heard she wrote it in like the segments that she writes it in. So it's all like these segments. Then she like rearranged them into the order she wanted. It's like about a librarian and her family life and just unsureness about her life and what's going on with her and the state of the world. It's like juxtaposing the apocalypse to her life kind of in a way, I guess. It's very prepper. It sounds interesting. It's not as interesting as I'm making it sound. I feel like you can't talk about this book without making it sound interesting. But it's not that interesting. I gave it a 2 out of 5, obviously. I didn't like it that much. It was okay. It was beautifully lyrical in a very beautiful way, but at the same time, boring. Dull. You're dull. It's funny that I own this book because I read the whole thing on Libby. I bought the book and then I read the whole thing on Libby, which is an app you can get through the library. Not a sponsor, but I do love it. Not good. Don't smack books. Next up, I read Giant Days 11 and 12 by John Allison. Giant Days! Whenever Giant Days comes out with a new volume, I'm like, give it to me now. I want it now. We get them at my library, and I am just like the first person on that whole list. Give it to me. I will read you. So good. Susan, Esther, and Daisy, they're in college in England. It's about all sorts of things. Like, each issue is kind of a different scenario going on, but they all tie together. Love life, dating, obviously, weird things, clubs, like hobbies, part-time jobs, and strange investigations and such. You get a little bit more of like Ed Gimmel in these two, and I do love Ed. Ed is, yes, he is weird, and I do like him very much. So I enjoyed hearing more from his perspective and getting more of him. I definitely recommend reading these. I hope it goes on forever. I know that they're at the end, or in their senior year now, or 4th year of college at this point, so I don't really know if it will go on forever. I feel like it's probably going to end, and I'm going to be very sad, and I'm going to hate everything. But it's fine. Next book I read, Go to Sleep, I Miss You by Lucy Knisley. I love Lucy Knisley. I've been watching her reading her graphic novels, which are like kind of graphic memoirs most of the time, since Displacement, Age of License, Relish. Really good one more recently was Kid Gloves. Kid Gloves was so good about her pregnancy, and it was sad, it was happy, it was everything. Covers a lot of like deep stuff. Also, you're learning a lot about pregnancy, misconceptions, and old wives' tales and stuff like that. That's not the book I'm talking about. I'm talking about Go to Sleep, I Miss You. This is more comic form. It's about after she has her child, who she calls Pal, because Pal has a palindrome birthday. That's the nickname she gives to her baby for her graphic novels. But this is more comic form, so it's kind of just standalones about like child care, breastfeeding, all sorts of things that have to do with having a child, the weird things children do. I liked it. It was good. It wasn't like the best thing that she's done because I love her memoir so much, and I was like, I want another graphic memoir, please. But she didn't give it to us this time. Still gave it a 3 out of 5 because she'd have to do a lot of wrong for me to go down to 2. A lot of wrong. Then I read The Fire Never Goes Out by Noelle Stevenson. This is another one from a graphic novel artist, writer that I love so much. She wrote Nimona, drew for Lumberjanes. But this one is a graphic memoir about her from the age of like 19 to 20 something. I'm not sure exactly what age it ends at. I don't really remember. But it kind of goes year by year. It's kind of like raw. It's emotional. It's about her dealing with what she thought was depression but turns out to be something else that she doesn't tell us what it is. Or at least like, I was looking. I was like, what is it that you're dealing with? I wanted to understand, but at the same time, or she never said. I did really enjoy it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's kind of like I said about what she's been dealing with mentally, but also about figuring out her sexuality and figuring out what she's doing with her life and with her art and with her hobbies, into going to art school and stuff like that. It was really well done. Yeah, I read it in probably one night, and it was good. I don't know if it'll sit with me forever. It's no Lucy Knisley, but just so we know, I don't have most of these other books because I got them all from the library. So the next one up is The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek by Rhett and... God, I want to call them by the names of their characters that they're going by, but it's Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning GMM. Their character names are Leaf and Rex, and it's kind of like this funny play on like their lives, but put in like horror, put in weirdness, put in like fantasy a little bit. Put a little bit of everything into a pot and make Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. So I've been a fan of theirs for a long time, and I was like, I have to read this book. They kept plugging it on their channel. Go, go, go. Plug it, plug it, plug it. And there's a fly in my room. This isn't my room. So I was like, I gotta read this book. It was weird. It was mysterious. It was strange. It's about Leaf and Rex. I'm gonna say Rex. It's about Leaf and Rex. They're high schoolers, just new to high school. They're trying to make this little film, Poltergeist Dog. And as they're filming it with their friend, I can't remember her name, but she gets into some trouble, ends up getting sent to this reform school, White Hill Reform School, and some weird stuff is going on at that reform school. It gets strange. And there's this girl, Janine, who really pulled the story together for me. There's sections about her, and she is an NYU graduate for film, and she decides to come back to North Carolina to try and film a documentary about her grandmother and about kidney stones, weirdly. And the fact that so many people are getting kidney stones there, and she ties into it, and she is like the piece of the puzzle that needed to be there. This is my cat! Meow. Bring him to me. Oh. Yeah, so it was really good, and I enjoyed it. It was 4 out of 5. I don't know if everyone would enjoy it as much as I did, but yeah. Would you? I'm sorry. I probably have cat hair all over me now. But whatever. Next up, I read I Am Not Okay With This by Charles Forsman. Forsman? Yeah. So this is what the Netflix show I'm Not Okay With This was based off of. I picked it up. It had the main character on the cover. I was like, that cover looks so good. I am a cover person. Yes, I am. Judge that book. Then you open it and it's like very comic-like drawings, which I'm not completely into. I'm more into cartoon realistic drawings, I want to call them. So something like Lumberjanes or Giant Days, whereas this is like very cartoon, like let's go to the funnies, whereas this is nothing like the funnies. It's very deep, or not deep, but dark, sad, tragic. Follows Sydney. She's dealing with depression, her dad's death, figuring out her sexuality. She's in high school, and it's just pressing. Yeah, it's raw. She also has these powers that she's trying to figure out, and not really figure out, but coping with something that's weighing on her, which is, I really wish, I like the show so much more. I wish they would bring it back. They canceled it because of COVID-19, and I am very upset with Netflix. Bring it back, season 2. I am not okay with this. Please, Netflix. Please, for me. Midnight Library. Next, Dancing at the Pity Patty. Dancing at the Pity Party by Tyler Fetter. It's about Tyler Fetter as like a late teen, early 20s, coping with her mother's death, or like also coping with her mother's diagnosis of ovarian cancer, I believe it was. It is a graphic memoir, as I guess I read a lot of graphic memoirs or just graphic novels in general. It was sad. It had a lot of stuff going on in there. It was beautiful. It was well done. It was happy, sad. I cried so much. I cried like so much during this graphic novel. I picked it up just because I was like, this is cute, even though it said a dead mom memoir. I was like, this is cute. I'm gonna read it. It's like pink. And yeah, I was over here sitting like a baby about this girl and her mom. And I was like, oh my god, tragic. I loved it. I loved it so much. I really recommend it. We're gonna stop talking about that one. So the next up, I listened to another audiobook, The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I have a very hard time explaining this. In my first take, I was like, what? So it's about this girl, Libby. She's 25. She inherits a house. She knew she was adopted. She just didn't know where from. She was, as a baby, blah, blah, blah. Back in the past, 25 years earlier, she has an older brother and a sister. So she was found as a baby, and there are these 3 dead people. They look cult. They're in like cult garbs and such. And it's a mom and a dad and some other man. The mom and dad had 2 other children, and they were both gone. They're supposed to be teenagers at this point, and they're gone. It also follows Henry's point of view, which is one of the children when this was happening as a teenager, like living in this house with his wealthy parents and his sister, and then all of a sudden all these people start moving in, and it turns into like this weird cult vibe, and it's like, what is going on? But it's also following this other woman, the sister, as an adult. She gets a text, and it says, the baby is 25. And you're like, the baby? 25? I don't know. Anyways, I didn't like the book that much. Supposed to be a mystery. I was very excited because Lisa Jewell, I've been hearing a lot of good things about her, and I've been wanting to read Then She Was Gone. I was like, let me pick this up. Might as well. It might be just as good. And I didn't think it was that good. 2 out of 5 on this one, because it was not that good. Not that good, not that good, not that good. All the twists just made it more and more boring to me. It's like, shouldn't a twist intrigue me or surprise me? Every twist that happened, I went, oh, really? Wow. I feel like it was more interesting when you started it. And then, like, the last line's supposed to be, like, a real punch. Like, oh my god. What? I was like, maybe you should have started it there, because that was the most interesting thing you put into your book. Sorry, I'm ranting. It's okay if you liked it. I just, like, I was not into it. I couldn't. Was not feeling that. That's it. I read 13 books. I only talked about 11 because the secrets are fun. They are, yeah. Most people don't tell you that, but it's something you learn later in life, that secrets are very fun. They are. Look at my Goodreads. It won't be a secret anymore. Thank you for joining me at Rachel's Moonlight Library. I put those together. I made it Rachel's and then I made it Moonlight Library. And there you go. Instead of Rachel app or AKA or any of that, it's me. I love you all. Goodbye. See you next week.